I need to figure out I need to tune the behavior of the readability service. And one thing I noticed when I was browsing GitHub issues on the Mozilla repo is that uh, it there's an interaction between the readability run before and after JavaScript runs. So one example was the NIH website, which I've noticed a while back has similar behaviors. It will often only give you it'll often only give you the references to a paper, even if it has a full HTML version. So uh, maybe we can do. Maybe the easiest thing to do is just to look at the actual issue and grab a URL from there, since we know that it works. This might be it. I'm not sure. This might be also the same thing. But let's look for NIH in issues. Discrepancy between Firefox reader mode to readability library. Okay, so here's an example. They try to load this paper. They get the article text in Firefox, but when they run readability library, possibly on Node, I don't know where, they get only the references. And if we grab this link, we should be able to replicate this behavior. In reader mode, we get some text paragraphs, but if we refresh it, we get only the references. And the issue points out that this is probably a discrepancy between the JavaScript. Different cite that certain elements were removed by JS after initial page load when activating reader mode if the currently available Firefox used the currently available HTML. Yes. So I don't know if we can see what the offending JavaScript is. But at the very least, we can just write a little script to check this. So, or rather to check pages in general. So let's just say curl, I forget what the argument is in bash, but let's just say it's 1 for now. And then we'll forget what this file is. I think it's called hello. So we'll call Basil. So we'll cd into the appropriate directory. Actually, that's the name of the file. Run script is the name of the Basil target. And we have to pass it an input file. I forget exactly what the input file flag looks like. I think it just runs on its first argument. And if I remember correctly, I'm writing the whole entire thing. So this is writing to, oh, let me comment this out. This is stuff that I grabbed later. And I think that I need to pre-process it by only getting the content. Or something like this. So let's try this. Okay, so for whatever reason, Emacs shell can't find Bazel. I think that's because I haven't set up yet Emacs to use the same shell as my regular shell. So first of all, this shell should not be here. It should be on the other screen. KDE is the absolute worst at remembering which screens are supposed to be where. I am considering actually fixing that bug, but I don't know how involved it is. I think it's a bug in Kwin. The monitors report different like ID, EDID, I think it is behavior strings, but for some reason KDE doesn't respect it. Okay, so let's go here. Okay, Basil's still not found. What have I done wrong? Is it because it's not available to a shell because it's an alias? I forget what the solution to that is. I could just call Basilisk. In fact, why don't we do that? So it doesn't find run script, which it should, I think. And the file doesn't exist. Which is not as surprising because I'm not sure that the curl command is right. Well, first of all, check the check stuff directory doesn't exist. Okay, and so now it still can't find run script. So let's try this. Huh. One moment. Oh, you know what? I think I didn't give it a Bazel command. Right? Is that my problem? Yeah. And for some reason, Firefox doesn't run. What's up with that, Firefox? So do I at least have checked? I do. Or maybe Firefox did run and it's just on some other screen. Yeah. All right. In fact, it did run. What if I want to run it in this window? I'm willing to bet KDE does not give me the power to do that, but what if I put a screen here? Yeah, okay. So I can do that, and I get this stuff with all the crazy ends. And I don't know why I have the crazy ends, because I don't think Reader View has them. If I go to this URL, then everything looks much better. What other differences do I notice? I may have disabled the hot corners because they were giving me trouble, but I would like to tile these. All right, that's what I get. All right, let's try that, turning the tiling back on. Okay, so we have this on the left. We have the bad one on the left, let's say, and the good one on the right. Maybe? Hello? Here we go. Hey. Okay, so obviously all of these are bad. We get a table here on the right-hand side. I see no title on the left, and the title of the this thingy, the box, is like the first thing on the page. Other than that, it looks mostly good. We don't have images on the left-hand side, but that's because I didn't download them. And Firefox is offering to read me the content.
96,120.
That's way loud.
Cat temporal range 9,500 years ago. Present. Various types of cats. Conservation status. Domesticated.
That's a pretty sweet voice. So that's, I guess it's maybe usable for some applications, but the voices could be better. I don't know how to get better voices on Linux. It's probably easier on OS X, and maybe impossible on Windows. I don't know how Windows is these days. Okay, so I don't know what's causing these problems. This might be that reader mode in Firefox is just printing out the like metadata. Let's see if I still have the full file from one of the runs from yesterday. Where did Emacs go? Here it is. So this says title byline. So it seems to be printing out the title and the byline, and the dir and the lang or whatever. I don't think that I have the readability estimate. I'm going to guess that, or rather the time estimate. I'm guessing this is maybe just something that's done live in the browser. Okay, and then let's check out that NIST site. I'm sorry, I'm calling it NIST, but it's NIH. Oh, my shell work now? Yeah. Okay, so if I run it, I get that I'm blocked because I'm using an automated process to retrieve content in violation of the PMC copyright notice. And it knows that I'm using the curl user agent. I'm sure I can spoof an agent. They still might know that I'm using an automated process. Although, I would argue that this is a valid use of. This is a valid way to get content. Okay, so now we do have only NIH was kind enough to send me the actual page. However, I only get the references. So this needs to be debugged. And step one to debugging it is, instead of being a bad citizen to NIH, maybe, see, if I just grab the HTML document and store it, is that enough to test this? I'm not sure. I could see if it's on the archive. I honestly haven't even looked at what this paper is about. Understanding ethical climate, moral distress, and burnout. Ethical climate, moral distress, and burnout, a novel tool and conceptual framework. The pace of technological advancements in the intensive care unit challenges clinicians' ability to manage ethical and decision-making challenges near the end of life. Okay. So I should be able to replicate this behavior with the archive link. Let's go back to keeping Firefox on the same virtual desktop. Oh, where did it go? Oh, it decided to go here now. Okay, so that I think that seems to work, assuming that was not an older version. Yeah. Okay. So now what do we do? Well, we could try to execute JavaScript. But that doesn't really tell me what's up with this. Why is there, for example, a quotation mark here that I don't seem to get elsewhere? Is that because I'm doing something weird with the JSON stringify? Is it because I'm doing something weird with the JQ processing? I could try just stringifying the content. And maybe that will have better behavior. Or maybe that will output nothing. Well, it can't output anything because I'm piping it through JQ. Okay. Yeah, it's looking for a file on the disk. So what I really wanted to do, I think, is just console.log. And that is what I'm doing. I'm not writing it to the disk. I'm just logging it to the just logging it out. So when I do that, I get a bunch of HTML. But I don't seem to be able to read it. And I also have these quotation marks here. I'm guessing that's where they come from. Is there a quotation at the end? Yeah. So the article content is a string. So it is quoted. Is that the root problem? So how do I remove quotes on a JSON string? A simple regular expression solution works to unquote JSON property. names in most cases. You don't want to do that. In Node.js, this is solved by using the util object and calling util.inspect your object. I don't want to use a regular expression. I don't know if Firefox does. Do they still use readability? So there's this there's mobile. Is there non-mobile? Everything is mobile. Mobile, mobile, mobile. Maybe yeah. So maybe this is the regular one. Actors about reader child dot sys dot mjs. Not sure what that is. It calls lazy.readable.isEnabled for parse on load, and this is not about reader, and the content window is, I guess, non-null. And we're at the window root, and the HTML document is an instance of document, and this is not a Moz synthetic document. Cool. And you can schedule readability for check post paint. One moment. Okay. And so we've got this perform readability check now. Lazy.readable is probably readable. And I think what we want is this readability library. This is not as cool as code search because I can't just jump to the right thing. I need to search for it. So MJS is maybe minify.js. Include readability dash readable. Okay. So let's go back to the browser implementation, or rather the mobile Android implementation, which I saw here. Oh, this is just the reference to the file. We have JS DOM parser readability.js. Okay. So we're getting there. I think maybe this is just pulling in the same library I'm using, the one that's runnable on Node. We have Node readability content score here. 0.4.2, I think, is the version I'm on. Well, I'm on 0.5.0, but I think this is the right way of thinking about this. Here's readability.js. This is ARC90 copyright 2010, same copyright. I don't know if this is a vendored version of what's on GitHub, or vice versa, or if this is a separate implementation. We can compare it to what's here. It looks pretty similar. About line 75, we'll compare. These could have diverged because they're different versions, but they look more or less like the same. Okay, so I think this is the right thing. And then now what I want. What do I want? They call what? Parse. There's some parse function, which I think is ultimately what I call. Readability parse. I don't know if I can find calls to the function. Jump to usages. Okay, how about we look for text content. How about we search for byline? There must be something in here that's unique enough to be searchable. I do think that searchability is an important property of a code base. This so far is not super searchable. It's not the worst, but it's also not great. And we don't, I think, generally have like build information that would let us jump to usages. Scroll byline. Well, I guess byline is used as a combination of the words by and line. How about length except site length? How about published time? Maybe that's searchable. So it's in the readability.js function, but like, where is it used? Is it used anywhere? What's the function that determines if it's readable? Is probably visible, is likely. I think it's mentioned in the README. Let's try that. Is probably readerable. Okay. All right. So we do call is probably readerable. Let's look for lazy dot reader mode. Enter reader mode. This is for about reader child. About context menu. Get original URL, printing child, browser utils. we have this lazy something or other. Article is equal to await lazy reader worker post parse document, passing in probably the URI param, serialize doc into options. And it gives it classes to preserve. Where did this come from? Is it just a single list of the word page? And let's see if we can find this reader worker. It's maybe part of, well, it's part of reader as opposed to readability. Is there a worker in here? We have worker type, service worker. I think this is I think those are just in documentation and stuff though. Okay. And test files. So here we have classes to preserve, caption, emoji, hidden, invisible, SR only, virtually hidden. WP caption, I'm guessing is WordPress. We have some language detector JavaScript, some this reader worker thing, which I'll open in another tab if possible. No? Okay. And we're setting this reader mode variable to some, I don't know, is this considered a class? Something like a class, some object that has methods. Enter the reader mode by going forward one step in history if applicable. If not, append the About Reader page in the history instead. Okay. So this is, I think, just making sure that the back button works. Services, telemetry, record event, reader mode. So I guess it's reporting back to Mozilla that you're using reader mode. The URL is, we're just grabbing it from the document. And then the reader URL we get by going to this about thing. It still displays this URL, but maybe this is used internally or something. So if we can go forward, then I guess we try to go forward. But I don't see yet where we actually maybe the handling of this URL is the thing that tells it to where actually what actually the content is. We can also leave reader mode. We can get the original URL and parse document. Gets an article from a loaded browser's document. This method will not attempt to parse certain URIs, for example, about URIs. So if we have, if the readerable should check the URI, or it should check the base URI object. I don't really know what the difference is there. Then, or rather, if not either of those things, then we'll say that the reader mode is disabled for this URI. I'm guessing that's mainly to avoid, like this comment says, things like about. Otherwise, we're going to call this underscore reader parse. And here's maybe what I really want. Download and parse document. Can I keep a reference to this? I want to grab the a permanent link. Is that possible? I see some blame information on the left. That's pretty cool. I can also see the latest version without this line and the earliest version with this line. That's also sweet. But can I link to a line number? Maybe I can't. Oh yeah, I can. 238. Okay. So we're going to download a document, and if we don't have a result, there's some error, and the new URL, we get the doc and the new URL. I guess the new URL because it may have done things like had forwards. We double check that we should check the URL rather. And then we await on reader parse of the doc. That I'm going to guess is basically what I have done, although we will look at the definition. And if we have to redirect, reject the caller with the parsed article so we can update the URL before displaying it. Reject the caller. So we can update the URL before displaying it. So we, whoever called us, I guess this is async. So we're going to return. So we return a promise, presumably. I don't know how async in JavaScript works, but it seems like we're rejecting the call, but we're still returning the information. And I'm guessing that's some sort of signal that like now we haven't wasted this work. So you still have the URL and article, but don't do whatever you were about to do. We need to do something else first or something. Otherwise, we can just continue with the article and we just return the article. And so where is this called? So here's the definition. And here we, is there only one call? So maybe about reader view is not about the reader view. Maybe it's just the actual implementation because I think it's in and about URL. At any rate, when we call load article, we get the original URL. We get this show progress delayed thing. That's some progress indicator most likely. We create an empty article, and we await on the article promise. I don't know where the article promise came from. It must be filled in somewhere else. And if we don't have an article, even after awaiting it, we're going to try calling reader download and parse document. And we pass in this underscore doc node principal origin attributes. I don't know if that's important or not with the doc content type. And we might catch an error. This is pretty inscrutable, but it seems like this, for whatever reason, if the error has a new URL, I guess that's the promise failure, right? Promise rejected. I guess that may be considered an error, perhaps, because we do have the new URL. And if it has a new URL, I guess, and we have an actor, then we're going to await on this actor send query redirect to the new URL with the article. And we set the reader URL to the encoded new article And we call this underscore win location replace the reader URL. So presumably that's going to replace the current URL with whatever we were redirected to. If that redirect stuff didn't have to happen, if we don't have an actor, we just return with nothing. I guess fail silently. And we may replace the loading error, the loading message with an error if there's some bad stuff. Otherwise, we call show content on the article. So let's look at show content. And on the message element, I don't know what that is, but we're going to remove reader show element. This underscore article will be set to the article that was passed in. So we're just basically stashing a reference to it. The domain element href is equal to the article URL. The article URI is the thing that we get by taking the URL and making it into a new URI. We're going to strip the host of the URI host to get the domain element. This is more URL monkeying around. And we'll set the credits element dot text content to the article byline. Okay, so now we're starting to parse the JSON payload. The title element, I'm guessing now this is element in the sense of HTML. So this is some HTML title. Its text content will become the article.title content from the thing that was returned. And then we get slow and fast, I guess, estimates for reading time. But that seems to come from the article. So do I have those? I don't seem to have those. I wonder where they got those. I'm not going to go on that tangent just yet. Reading time mins slow. So that may come from the parser or something. And then we are going to format those numbers to get the fast string and the range. Okay, so these are just the two ends of the range. So if I go to some article, it says 24 to 31 minutes. So 24 must be slow and 31 is fast. And this format thing is probably going to do things like say minutes if it's minutes or hours if it's hours or something. And then we're going to, on the localization, we're going to set some attributes, namely the attribute estimated reading time. Oh, here we go. This is the thing that's going to say minutes or whatever, the plural rules. If it says 1, it's going to be 1 minute. Or if it's multiple, it's going to say minutes with an S. So if we don't have a document title, then we'll fall back on using the article title in the constructor. I don't know in what examples there would be this underscore doc title, because I don't know where underscore doc came from, presumably from the caller. And then we'll set the attribute lang. And then we'll add in the class list reader show element, which I think is we started by removing. I guess we're setting it in header element. Reader show element. This seems to be some class list we're using as an indicator of something. I'm not sure quite what. Maybe maybe this reader show element is just whether to show this in the reader view. And this is saying like there might be a message, like a pop-up message, and we're clearing it here. And maybe this is saying, let's show the headers or something. And then we've got these parser utils. We're going to get this is some service locator. I don't know what the CI prefix is. NSI parser utils. And that's probably Netscape. I may be interface. And then content fragment we'll call parse fragment on the article.content with we're like ordering together sanitizer drop forms and sanitizer allow style. Whatever false is, giving it the article URI and this underscore content element. Then we're setting this underscore content element, inner HTML to the empty string. And we're going to append the content fragment as a child. We might set text direction in the language. And then we're going to call load reader show. We're going to add reader show element to the content element class list. We're going to update image margins, update wide tables, request favicon, and then we'll add to the body the class list loaded. And then we'll go to reference the article URI ref. I don't know what that is, but we'll scroll to position and notify observers that we're ready. So I think that maybe if I'm missing any parts that they are doing, it's in this parse fragment thing. So let's see if I can look at this. I guess it's in parser utils. These are calls to parser utils parse fragment. What if I just search for parser utils? This code is definitely readable. It looks like it's a little bit of an older style. I don't know how it compares to modern JavaScript, but it kind of does look like corporate, like a corporate code base. All right, so where are the parser utils? This looks promising. I don't know if this is just a reference to, this is just getting the service. We could just try parse fragment. Okay, this is an IDL, so some interface description language. Parses markup into a sanitized document fragment. Fragment, okay, this means the argument called fragment is this. So the fragment is the input markup. The flags are the sanitization option flags defined above. And is XML is true if the fragment is XML, et cetera, et cetera. And so what are the flags that we've used? Sanitizer drop forms and allow style. So drop forms, this is just literally, I guess, just dropping forms. And then allow styles, presumably CSS stuff, right? Allow the style tag and style equals some string with content sanitized in case of Moz binding. All right. Great. So this is some IDL. I don't know what IDL it is. Web IDL? Web IDL is an interface description language format for describing APIs that are intended to be implemented in web browsers. Its adoption was motivated by the desire to improve the interoperability of web programming interfaces by specifying how languages such as ECMAScript should bind to those interfaces. All right. It's from 2012. So it's kind of proto Buffy. I don't know where all. I'm assuming that a lot of these like IDLs kind of came from the same place. They may be from like the Sun RPC system. I don't know where Web IDL came from. Is there a history? It seems like it's not from too long ago. It's from like the 2012 or so. Is that what it said? Okay, so then where's the generated code for this? Is it committed or is it just generated? So I can search for the C++ method. I can search for the JS method. Let's see if we can find the JS method. And again, I think we're just doing search and not actually looking up. So it's not considering the type when it searches. It's maybe looking for files that are JavaScript files, but it doesn't seem to have a way of knowing that it's looking specifically for JavaScript functions called sanitize that implement this IDL. However, we can try to do slightly better by looking for parse fragment again. And parse fragment might be in C++. We have lots of parse fragments, including the NS content utils. So maybe parse fragment is still too general. What about convert to plain text? So we have this sanitize thing. Now we have a capital S sanitize, but I'm guessing this might be the right thing. So what is it? Something util? Content util, parse, yeah. So we're including the header. I'm guessing this is the code that implements that interface, and that maybe they for C++ they just have capital S, and we're calling sanitize with. Is this the right? Yeah, we have flags. So first of all, let's grab this file. So so sanitize takes in a string and some flags, and it returns an A string. And maybe that's not what we have, because I think we have, well, we have a string and flags, but we also have but what's possibly an out parameter, and whatever IME, NSI method imp. Whatever that means. And we're calling sanitize with, passing in what? So the from string, the to string, and I guess like this, I think this is like lambda binding or whatever it's called. Or maybe this is just I don't know. So I think this is an anonymous function that takes a document and maybe calls sanitizer, or I guess maybe creates a sanitizer from the flags and then calls sanitize with it. And the type, I think, is maybe NSTree sanitizer. So sanitizes a disconnected DOM fragment freshly obtained from a parser. The fragment must have just come from a parser so that it can't have a mutation event listener set on it. Okay. And here's parse fragment. And parse fragment is whatever NSAssure arg is. So we're going to get the owner doc of a context element. And we've got this auto script blocker suppress node removed auto blocker thing. So I'm guessing that suppresses scripts somehow. And we're going to get the document script loader, check whether the loader is enabled, and if the scripts are enabled, we're going to set enabled to false. Then we're going to wrap things in a div or body for parsing, but it won't show up in the fragment. The result is we're going to start with OK and get a tag stack, or create a tag stack and create a document fragment. And if it's XML, we'll do some stuff. Otherwise, we're going to set fragment to be the new, the result of the document node info manager. Wait a minute, what's going on here? There's no semicolon here. Oh, I guess we're just skipping the braces. Whatever this node info manager stuff is. And then we're going to call parse fragment HTML. That's going to be the result. And if the scripts were enabled, we're going to re-enable them. And so this parse fragment HTML prevents script execution, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm guessing, I don't see exactly where, but I'm guessing that this sanitization process is partially what gets rid of the new lines. And it seems like we are sanitizing after we have run readability. And what did they say about that? So under security for the readability library, if you're going to use readability with untrusted input, blah, 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 we recommend use a sanitizer library like DOM Purify to avoid script injection when you use the output of readability. And they also recommend using CSP to further defense and depth restrictions to what you allow the resulting content to do. I assume CSP is not communicating sequential processes, content security policy. So this is for like cross-site scripting, right? I'm not really sure how to set this policy. And I know that there have been some bugs with sites not working with Firefox because of their strict content security policy, I think. So I'm not entirely sure if Mozilla are the people if their direction to follow, but I kind of just want to disable everything that's possible. All right, so what does that tell us? It tells us that we should look into DOM Purify. Maybe DOM Purify will just solve all of our problems. All right, so let's just copy and paste. I think it's called underscore DOM Purify, although I'm not sure. I don't like how this thing, the article manipulation is in this read file block. So what do I do? I think I could just make some sort of function. I don't know if the syntax is I set the variable name, to a function. But let's try this. Okay, so this function takes in the HTML content. We're going to return the article. And this goes down here. And I'm not sure that this import statement, or rather this require statement is going to work, but we'll see. Why are you not running Buildifier? Also, what just happened to Emacs? Did Emacs just crash? WTF, mate. Okay. Okay, maybe I don't have Buildifier on this machine yet. Okay, and then we have to put it in this silly package thing. And I don't know what version to get, but we'll start with the newest version and see if we need to back things out. So it doesn't like that. Okay, and it won't run. It won't run without a file to call it on. And if I tell it, if I give it a file, it objects to calling dompurify.sanitize, which is not surprising because that's the thing that I added. And the error is dompurify.sanitize is not a function. And there's this read file after close thing that looks foreboding, but let's fix the function thing first. Maybe that's not an issue. So why is dompurify.sanitize not a function? Oh, I have to create dompurify. So this imports okay. It technically also works server-side with Node.js. It requires a DOM to be present, which is probably no surprise. Usually JS DOM, and we strongly recommend using the latest version. And their older versions are buggy, and they result in cross-site scripting. These are known attack vectors. Great. Please be aware that Happy DOM exists but are not considered safe. Okay, so I need to create DOM purify. And, whoa now. And I need to give it a window, passing in an empty string to JSDOM. I don't know why with require I need to get the create DOM purify thing, but I guess I believe them. All right, let's see if that does it. Undefined. Very promising. Well, I have JSON stringified nothing. So that's not surprising. And if I JSON stringify the sanitized content, I get object, which I don't love. Let's temporarily disable that. Let's console.log the dirty to make sure that I haven't messed that up in any way. And let's just simplify this testing cycle. And we get the dirty is still looking good. But the clean is just some object. So what do I do with the clean? Is there a demo? Yes, there's a demo. So maybe I haven't passed it enough allowed tags. So that's the demo. I have played with the demo. Oh, you know what? I can't clean the whole article. What I can clean is the content, right? And that does seem to work. Although it does seem like, again, we only get, well, that's a separate issue, but we still only get the references to the NIH article. That's not surprising. But let's double check what that looks like. And the cat article still has a bunch of new lines, it looks like. So that does not seem to have solved that particular problem. But why? I don't know. And then where's the NIH article? Hmm. So we still have the quotation mark. What if we sanitized away, I guess, not the quote mark. Does the sanitizer look under the quote mark at all? So in the stringified content, we do have the escape. We are escaping the quotes. I'm wondering if what if I just log without JSON stringify? Then I don't get the quote marks anymore. That's promising. Okay, so that's better. JSON stringify was causing problems. I don't. I thought I needed it before calling the sanitizer, but I could have just been hallucinating. And then what about the cat article? All right, now cat looks much better. Okay, so let's just verify that I was not hallucinating. So instead of returning clean, let's return dirty and do cat again. Yeah. Okay, so if I don't purify, no. I need to return the dirty content. I guess I didn't need to do that. Well, at any rate, calling purify is probably better than not calling it. And if I do log the content, then do I have all those crazy plus signs like before? Yeah. So somehow, when I just access the content and log it, things work. And I guess that's maybe just about a fact about JSON. And then JSON stringify like quotes all of this stuff, so it adds a layer of quotes, and that was confusing me. But if I just print the content, then everything's fine. All right. Well, let's do sanitize, and then how do we work around the NIH problem. Do we need to execute the JavaScript? All right, so let's figure out what it is that's actually causing this problem. So we have a title, a bunch of stuff about Apple Touch, some stuff about robots, and whether we like them or not, a USA header, this looks like the references, the pace of technological advancement. So when I get the page, it seems like the data, the text is here. So is this being cleaned inappropriately by the readability thingy-majig? So the class here is p first, headless, no menu, p id equals p2, class equals p and p first. We have a bunch of divs, div, 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 div. An empty header, headless, no menu. We have p3. So are all the paragraphs numbered? Seems like it. So this is the unsanitized HTML, and then here's the sanitized HTML on the right. And you can see that we've gone, so we have this div class equals page. ID is readability page 1 that's added by the readability service. And we start with paragraph 1, Tenno J Gonzalo. And that's from we're in like the footnotes header, I believe. Or rather under it. I wonder if I can get the readability service to log its decisions. But I'm really curious about, so let's take this URL and see what it will it render correctly here. if I read it from disk. But if I ask it for the reader view, it will not. So somehow, if I read it from disk, it's not in the correct frame of mind to for the reader view to understand that it needs to have the actual article. So that means that I now have two HTML representations, one which readers to the correct view and one which does not. And the one that does reader correctly is the one that's like processed by Firefox after it loads. Like that. So now I can grab this source file. Can I just save this? I'll save it as wtf.html. And now, do I have a good diff? How about meld? I'll just diff some stuff. Diff the version that doesn't work with the version that does work. And there are lots and lots of changes. The one that does work has a ton of spans. Is this right? Where did meld go? Syntax highlighting is disabled. So we have this line 1, line 2. Is that added by saving the article? What's going on here? Oh yeah, it is. Okay, great. No, so I don't want these line numbers. Maybe I just need to call save page as. That looks more promising. We have a bunch of dark reader stuff, so let's get rid of that. And this caching stuff is different. So I'll have to mentally ignore all that. Here's some stuff about favicons. And the content here, we have no archive, no follow, etc. That seems to be about the same. We have this NCBI stuff after the JavaScript renders. And here's a big difference. We have this section role equals document. And on the left, the one that doesn't work has what? I'm not sure yet. So where was the content? Was it in that big blob? Yeah. Manage, blah, blah, blah. Where is, it began with like the fast pace, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Here we go. Somewhere between these two lines. And how is this different? And why does it seem to be multiple lines on the right? Does that mean that there are, I'm guessing this means like new lines have been added. Whereas here, maybe they have not been added. Are the classes or anything different? Page box, slang all. Maybe slang is slang. Maybe somehow the stuff on the left is wrapped in a script. Okay, so let's view it in Emacs. That was possibly informative. So we'll look at the white space in both. So on the left, yeah, okay. So on the right, we see that things have been chopped up into multiple lines. Now, I think they're not necessarily multiple in different amounts of paragraphs. In fact, there's like no line breaks at places where you might suspect that there'd be line breaks. I don't know if the line breaks depend on the shape of the browser. Maybe this is a way that they're trying to support different sized devices. Do we still have the headless header? Headless no menu. We have this provider article restricted access. And do we have any scripts on the left? Okay, so I still don't know what's going on. I think I have at least more context. I don't know if I can ask debug. Yes, whether to enable logging. No, don't save. So I can pass in an options object. How do I do that? I'm not sure. Maybe I can do just like debug. I think it's just called debug. I don't know if it's looking for a string or what. It's a Boolean. Okay, and then we do get useful debug information. Things like removing hidden node USA banner, removing content with role navigation, evaluating similarity of header, understanding blah, 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 similarity of it to what? And then it's removing this header. Why? So here's the original. Here's the stuff with removed. We have removed whatever header they were supposed to be. This thing, we've removed it. We've evaluated its similarity and decided it's too similar. Too similar to what? I don't know. And we're removing a ton of divs. And one of the divs we must be removing is the div that contains all of the text, which is maybe this one. Although this looks like this has the references in it. Article content pre-prep. So this looks like the stuff that is kept. And so which div is the div that has all of the content? So body dash A. I'm guessing we don't look at that one. So body dash A dot D has score 181. That's a good score, I assume. Is that good? And then what's this thing with the Tenno? Ref list sec. So ref list sec has score 349. Whereas body AD has only 181. Ref list AEC has score 176. That's below body. Sibling has score 349. This sibling is, I assume, the reference list. So we have 287, which is whatever this is. article, class, USA, width 3, blah, 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 blah. This smooth scroll or whatever has 163. But it does, to me, I'm just a simple country lawyer, but it looks like the body of the document with a score of like 180 some seems like it should be a good candidate. How many of the top ones are we keeping? I thought it was 5 by default. The number of top candidates to consider when analyzing how tight the competition is among candidates. Is there only one that let's look how where and top candidates is used. NB. Here's the test. The test might be useful. So if we don't have it, hang on. We're going to loop over the number of top candidates, increasing T, and we'll look in top candidates, which is presumably some sorted list by score or something like that. And if we don't have, or if the top candidate doesn't exist, which I think is basically a bug, then then I guess we'll break. We'll ignore this. But otherwise, if the candidate score I see. I don't know what candidate score is, but it's computed here. Something about link density that might be our problem. But so we'll come to that in a second. So if the candidate score, which is maybe the current max score, is bigger than the a top candidate score, so that's the like candidate we're considering in this iteration of the loop, then I think if I'm understanding this correctly, if this is true, then a top candidate is dominated by the current candidate. But maybe that's not right. But if this, if we don't have a top candidate or it's dominated, then we'll take top candidates and splice at T, which is where we are in the iteration, whatever 0 is, and candidate. Oh, okay. So we're just moving up the candidate into we're just sorting the list essentially, right? If top candidate's length is bigger than this number of candidates, then we're going to pop it. We're going to pop I guess the lowest stuff off. Then the top candidate is there's only one, I guess. And we'll say that if we have one, we don't need to create one again. And then we have a parent of top candidate. We still, whoa. If we still have no top candidate, we just use the body as a last resort. But if we do have a top candidate, we will find a better top candidate node if it contains at least 3 nodes which belong to top candidates array and whose scores are quite close to the current top candidate node. So we have some alternative candidate ancestors, and we're going to iterate over the top candidates. Although we did pop some off, I'm not sure exactly which we popped off. And the top candidates at I, you take their reading score divided by the top candidate reading score. And if it's at least 0.75, if it's 3/4 of the way there, we're going to push the all of their ancestors into this alternative candidate ancestors container, and so on. Okay, so that all makes sense. But this thing, before we went into this loop that I started reading, we've got this stuff which says that we'll set candidate score. Let's read the comment actually. Scale the final candidate scores based on link density. Good content should have a relatively small link density, 5% or less, and be mostly unaffected by this operation. And so candidate score is the readability content score times 1 minus this get link density of candidate. And do we log this? Okay. I'm guessing this might be a big part of the problem because these, the references have about 1, 2, 3, 4 links per line. But the paper itself probably cites a larger number of things. No, it seems about the same. Here's the actual page. There doesn't seem to be a super large number of links. I guess that's not the issue. But for some reason, this candidate has the best score. How have we scored things? Okay, so loop through the paragraphs and assign a score to them based on how contenty they look. Then add their score to the parent node. A score is determined by things like the number of commas, class names, etc. Maybe eventually link density. That eventually is here now. Okay. Element to score is the function to look at. Loop through. Oh, that's the function I'm. Wait, what? Oh, this is the definition. Okay, so we get their inner text. If it's less than 25, we're not even going to count it. Exclude nodes with no ancestor. Content score starts at 0 at a point for the paragraph itself as a base. Add points for any commas within this paragraph. So every time there's a comma, we're going to add a point. For every 100 characters in this paragraph, add another point. Initialize and score ancestors. I assume having good children seems like a good thing. Having good ancestors, I'm not sure about that. Oh, okay. And we have divisors. So a parent has a score divider of 1. A grandparent has 2. A great grandparent has ancestor level times 3. So the ancestor readability content score is the content score divided by the score divider. But where did we start? I guess we're just looping through the paragraphs, and then the ancestors are maybe like non-paragraph things that are I don't know what counts as an ancestor. Let's see if we can find that. If type of ancestor is undefined, I'm not really sure what this is doing. If type of ancestor readability is undefined, we push it. Oh, yeah, this is just get node ancestors. Exclude nodes with no ancestor. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe it's all HTML tag ancestors. I'm not sure. Okay, so now let's go back to the HTML documents. Now that we have a general idea of what the algorithm is. So somehow the score changes between the rendered JavaScript and the non-rendered JavaScript. So let's actually look at the output of what it looks like on the post render. So this removes a bunch of hidden nodes. And where's body? So body AD's score hasn't changed. But now we have this new class, jig something or other. And jig something or other's score is 186.07, which is slightly more than 181. So we're looking at sibling node of this jig NCB thing. It has a score of 186. Then we're appending the node jig NCB whatever. And then we get into article content pre-prep with the jig NCB thing. We still have this candidate article with a higher score. And then what about the ref stuff? Ref list still has a super high score. But maybe the difference is that the ref list is not a descendant. Can I pretty print this? Maybe not, but what I can probably do is fold, right? Okay, so that at least should be some prettiness. Okay, so we have this ref list thing is at level what? 14. And body AD is also at level 14, so they are siblings. Here, again, they should also be siblings. So what's different? I don't know. Well, definitely we have lots of new lines, but the scores seem to be the same. So I don't think it's something about the scores of the body, although this it's not the body, it's the jig. Somehow creating this jig um, now the jigs are the same. For some reason, the tags are closed after the JavaScript runs. Is that enough to do it? I guess these two sections are too dissimilar to get like a real diff treatment. I don't know. I really have no idea. Let's try one more time looking at the, first of all, let's record this run as the, is the run of the good, the log of the good example. And let's rerun on the bad example. And in fact, I want to see this. I think I want to see this in meld. So we remove a lot more hidden nodes in the example that succeeds. Where's the body? The body has an ID, I guess, on the right-hand side. But the score seems more or less the same. It's slightly higher on the left. The body dash A dash D has a score of 181.49 on the left and 181.51 on the right. And when we get down here, we see looking at sibling node. And that's like the death. that's by then we know that we've failed because on the right we see looking at sibling node of the correct thing that has the actual article. On the left, we're looking at the reference list. So by the time we get down here that's looking at log, we are doomed. But what is it that causes us to be doomed? A lot of these scores look similar. The reference list here has a score of 355. Whereas on the right, it has a score of, we don't know, I thought I saw it somewhere. 349. So maybe they're just different enough to kick off different branches. Because there doesn't seem to be a whole lot different. So the looking at sibling thing occurs here. Now that we have top candidates, look through its siblings for content that might also be related. Things like preambles, content split by ads that we removed, etc. So the sibling score threshold is the max of 10 and top candidate readability content score times 0.2. So a fifth of the top content score hey, oops. It seems like we only call this once. Do we only... Doesn't seem like we like log the top candidate. Stop it, Emacs. I wonder if I can hack into the I don't know if Basil will let me run a modified readability thing. I might try to re-download it. So this is might be interesting. Sites like mobile.slate.com encloses each paragraph with a div element. Divs with only a p element inside and no text content can be safely converted into plain p elements to avoid confusing the scoring algorithm with divs, which are in practice paragraphs. So what else do we know about divs? Hmm. We have give a bonus to sibling nodes and top candidates of the example same class name. So let's try logging. I'm thinking this might fail. Okay, so we have a few. So logging here, there's a content score of 290, which I don't remember seeing. 173, 290. Okay, so we have things like HTML div element, name node nav, div element, style. But these don't seem to have names. Okay, so what is this thing doing? So we're going to get the top candidates and log if the blah, blah, blah. So let's print this out here. We see a bunch of undefines, but we also see some elements. Here's one with, here's body AD. And here's ref list AEC, the thing that wins out ultimately. Here's ref list sec. AEC is 173. Ref list sec has 290. Am I reading the scores wrong? So let's try this. Candidate score. What did I do wrong? So I added this brace. Wait, what? Okay, so this is supposed to be nested inside, right? So it seems like maybe this condition is never happening. Yeah. So this is so. What if we just print out the top candidate? It's always a div element. Can I get more? Can I get more than that? Okay, so I can get the inner HTML. Can I get the ID? No, not in general. All right, so here's at least more information. Um, okay, so the first time we see body A-D with score 100, whatever, the next thing that we see is that we have this A top candidate with a higher score and another A top candidate with a lower score. And that's the only time. And we see it down here. I guess this is the last thing before we make a decision. We're looking at the some column thing, and we see body A.D with score 181 and ref list AEC with a lower score, and also ref list sec with the highest score. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we also have this USA width 3/4 thing. But does that show up in the result? No. I don't know why that gets eliminated. Maybe because it's not a text thing. And we see a pending node here. We have sibling. We're looking at the refless exec here. And so when we get down here, we're looking at this sibling. So we only have a single top candidate, right? Okay, so that's the run on the not working version. Let's take a look at the run on the working post JavaScript rendered version, which is called WTF. And then here we have what happens that's different. You know, it's never body AD that wins. It's the jig thing, right? Maybe it's just that it's like the score is slightly over. So here are the list sec ones. I don't think we ever have. Oh, here we do. So when we have the list sec candidate, it has a big score. And the other top candidate is this thing. 290. Let's try hacking 186. Let's just try what happens if we just take the element that is that wins out after JavaScript and just artificially increase its score. So after we've calculated scores, blah, 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 blah. So where do we score each element? Here. Move through all the possible candidate nodes we found and find the one with the highest score. So once we do this, we but we don't take the one with the highest score. And maybe it's the bonus system. Because of the bonus system, parents of candidates might have scores themselves. They get half of the node. There won't be nodes with higher scores than our top candidates, but if we see this score going up in the first few steps of the tree, that's a decent sign that there might be more content lurking in other places that we want to unify. The sibling stuff below does some of that, but only if we've looked high enough up the DOM tree. I have a feeling this is it. So we have this parent of top candidate thing. If the top candidate is the only child, use parent instead. This will help sibling logic. Can I just format this whole thing? The Emacs JavaScript mode doesn't seem to like whatever the Also, where did my menu items go? So as long as the parent of the top candidate has 1, we're going to increment stuff. So let's just try making a big log here and seeing if this happens in either of the two conditions. Not in that one, which is, this is the good condition or the bad condition? That's the bad condition. It doesn't happen in the good condition either. Okay, so it's not the parent logic. So again, as I said, by the time we're done here, um, we've already made the wrong decision. So the top candidate here is the jig thing, and the parent is the article in the good run. That makes sense. And I assume the parent of top candidate is the same before the sibling logic. Yeah. So it really is that we've decided that jig is better. Does it help if I just increase the number of top candidates considered? I meant to do that a long time ago, but I just haven't done it. Let's try 7. So we look at more siblings if we increase it. And the top candidate is sec. And it really is a mystery to me what's going on. What if we increase it to 100 top candidates? So no matter how many top candidates we look at, we always end up with the reference list being the best, which is wrong. I consider that a bug. That's not actually the top candidate. And so the question is, where's the bug? So it's above ZZ. So we'll just continue with printf debugging. So it doesn't seem to be, we don't seem to be triggering the bonus logic. I wonder if I can just debug this with a debugger. Although I don't, not sure. I don't think we strip it as an unlikely candidate. So down here, we are doing the candidate splicing. What if we called whenever we pop? This should be called the splicing thing. But it is only ever with undefined. I don't know if I can log a whole list. Is that right? It's null? Because that would explain something. Well, well, well. That's interesting. Okay, so now we have our first kind of interesting thing. In the case that doesn't work, we have no top candidate at all. Same with the case that does work. And so now we're in here, top candidate is null. Then move all the page's children into top candidate. No, something's wrong. I've altered the fabric of the universe. How did I do that? I don't know. Can I just reverse all my changes? I think I need to change the package.json file. I don't know how much I need to change it. So I must have changed something that altered the algorithm. What? I'm not sure. But let's try logging the top candidates again. And this time, I think that there will be one. Hey, what just happened? Okay, so we have a list of top candidates: 355, 290, 187, 181, 179. And it's the 181 that we want to win out, and which does in this run. Actually, there's 187 here, I think. Can we... And so even in the good run, the top candidate, the 0th candidate, is this ref list sec, right? And so somewhere along the lines, this thing must get taken over, or rather must take over the top candidate in the battle royale. And if we is there a for each loop? There's a for each loop, right? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know if there's one in vanilla JavaScript. So instead of just printing the list, let's loop over it. Because this prints out more information. Actually, that's slightly useful, but I actually want both. Because that loop makes it harder to see what the ordering is. Okay, so the top one, this 355 one, is the article. And here the second top one is this jig thing, and then body AD, and then list ref AEC. But where's sec? Or rather, list sec. Oh, I started from 1 because I copied some loop that started from 1. Okay, yeah. All right, so list sec, ref list sec is the top, and it eventually gets toppled in the good universe. In the bad universe, I bet it starts as the top and just never gets toppled. So here are the top ones. The contenders are, yeah, list sec is the top. Body AD is now 3rd. And jig doesn't even make it. Jig NB double I or whatever doesn't make the grade in the bad condition. And I guess that's ultimately the problem, because we want jig to win. So jig has 164 in the bad universe. Body AD has 181. So body 80 still has 181 in the good universe. But Jig now has 187. And somehow that's enough to kick it over the line. So let's loop over these scores again. And I want to find this jig thing. Log node is what I want, I think. I don't know how to get the name. So why don't I just do this? I'll just look for the score, which I think I do know how to get. Why is it undefined? Oh, readability.content score. What am I doing wrong? So this content score should be this, unless it's adjusted elsewhere. Haven't we already adjusted it? We've got the score divider. I guess the score must be adjusted somewhere after this. So for example, at this point, Jig's score is 177. I guess it's after this. Scale the final candidates. Oh, I thought it was before. I thought I was doing this after link density, but I guess not. Wait a minute. So this, do I have both loops? Huh. So it seems like we have Jake shows up a few places. 177. I feel like this is wrong. Oh, I think I'm inside a for loop. Yeah. So that's good to know. We are changing. I guess that's part of it. We start at 177 and then we reduce it, I guess, more in the bad universe. So now we have the right thing. So it didn't work to change the score down here. What if we don't scale by link density? I don't know. I'm going to give up for now, and I've got other things to do. I have a feeling this is going to generally be a problem, and I'm not sure what the solution is. I could just file a bug report. There actually is a bug report, but I don't know like how many websites this affects. I'm trying to think if there's a better, faster way of figuring out what it is about this algorithm that that causes the changes. It doesn't seem to be link density, and I'm not sure. I think that the best thing to do is to take a break here and